they can also ask questions. They should listen. It's not just about sharing who you are as a human, which is very important because all of a sudden you are making yourself vulnerable, which is very important, but you're also allowing for people to share by asking questions.
Your business's success depends on, I'm going to restart it. Your business's success depends on relationships, relationships with the customers, relationships with employees, and relationships with stakeholders. What do they all have in common? They're all human. Because no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Welcome to the Human Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Karl Pontau. Each week, I'll bring you stories, insights, and practical advice from experts that you can apply to your growing company and daily life. This week, I'm connecting with Eduardo Savi. Eduardo is a business coach by profession and asks questions for a living. Born and raised in Italy, based in California, his goal in life is to celebrate growth in hearts and minds. With 15 years of international experience across Europe, the US, and Asia, he leverages his diverse cultural insights to effectively address unique challenges in various organizational contexts. Eduardo embodies the role of a learner, explorer, and mirror, fostering an environment where individuals can thrive as co-creators in their narratives. His extensive experience spans various roles, from consulting in healthcare and consumer sectors to contributions in the arts, reflecting on the versatile and holistic approach to professional development. Congrats on your successes helping companies with professional development, and welcome to the Human Connection Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for the very nice introduction. Nice to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. So I'd love to hear more about what you think is the best way for consultants to build rapport and be more persuasive.
Absolutely. I think consulting is all about becoming the trusted advisor for clients. And what it comes down to is obviously be vulnerable and be ready to establish that connection. But in order to get there, people always ask the questions, how can I be more persuasive? And I'm going to go back centuries to the doctrine of Aristotle. In his book Rhetoric, he always mentioned how you can persuade somebody using one of three different techniques: ethos, logos, and pathos. I'm going to give a simple example. How we were able to vaccinate people during COVID. You could appeal to ethos, to the authority. So you should get vaccinated because I'm your doctor and I say that's the right thing to do. And you can use logos showing data that demonstrate that getting your vaccine is leading to certain outcomes for society, for the community, and for yourself. Or you can use pathos, so using the emotion and what it means to the people that are close to you, that are next to you. Why am I sharing this story? Because sometimes consultants assume that the way to convince their clients is squarely through logos or ethos. Logos is really the reasoning, and ethos is the appeal to authority. Trust me because I've been doing this for a long time. Trust me because I'm part of this company. And especially nowadays, it's important to explain to people that as humans, so we just need that connection with other humans, and appealing to pathos, appealing to the emotion is often the best way to really build a bridge, because a connection is nothing other than a bridge. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think it makes a lot of sense because the people are, especially these days, are craving that connection more than ever. And so they want to feel like the person that is trying to help them actually understands them and has something in common with them. And people are more and more, there's just a lack of trust in authorities and institutions. And so the more, if you're a consultant or you're a leader in a company, the way you're going to get people to trust you and to build those connections is to show the common ground and to appeal to emotions and to understand what your team or the people you're consulting care about.
You are absolutely right. Last year, Charles Duhigg came out with this book called Super Communicators. And one of the many insights that he shares is how it's important to have social conversations. So conversations that are about your identity and finding that common identity. So again, going back to the example of vaccines, he specifically says how doctors telling anti-vaxxers, I'm your doctor, you're my patient, you should listen to me, is not going to move the needle, is not going to convince anti-vaxxers to get a vaccine. In fact, it will just solidify this polarizing position in which you have your own beliefs and I will have my own. But doctors that actually try and find that common ground, which means, oh, tell me about yourself. Oh, we actually grew up in the same neighborhood. Tell me about your community. Tell me about your family. Tell me who you want to protect. Let's figure out a way to protect your family together. Vaccines can be powerful in building that protection for your family. Is a much more powerful way to persuade people, because all of a sudden you are coming from a place of shared identity, of shared community, and shared beliefs and values.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key solutions to bridging the divides in between people in society and communities is to refocus on what we all have in common instead of the things that we differ on, because there are always going to be differences, but there's so much that even like internally at a small company, that if you can focus on those, everything that people have in common besides the fact that they all work there, that builds the level of trust and belonging and community, because you get people focusing on what they want, what they are craving, which is that the familiarity and connection, and less on the divisive aspects of society. And so I think for consultants or for leaders that are trying to build a more cohesive team and reduce like employee turnover and improve productivity and make people feel safer at work, so that they'll do better quality work and make the customers happy, starting by sharing your own social stories and who you are as a person, opening up and talking about your family and your interests, and not just be only professional at work. Seems to be like something that people can do instead of trying to approach it as an authority. Approach it as, hey, we share things in common that make us who we are. We're the same. So I think if it's human, or I think leaders that can open up and share what makes them alike, what kind of values and interests they have that they share with their teams, will help actually increase their the level of trust and effectiveness of their leadership, instead of only coming from that area of authority.
And they can also ask questions. They should listen. It's not just about sharing who you are as a human, which is very important, because all of a sudden you are making yourself vulnerable, which is very important, but you're also allowing for people to share by asking questions. And some leaders are very good at asking questions. Some leaders are just sticking to the more formulaic questions, like what are your goals for this project? What do you want to accomplish in the context of our task force? But trying to establish a connection to really understand what motivates the individual is far more powerful, because as human, we are primed to just make assumptions. I am motivated by this. For example, personally, I am motivated by autonomy, and I will assume that people that are on my team are also motivated by autonomy. If I don't ask, that's all I can
Mm-hmm.
work with. But if I ask, what were the most fulfilling moments in your career, and when do you feel most engaged at work? All of a sudden, these are questions that will make my team reflect, and their responses will inform not just what we have in common, but also how we can work together successfully.
Absolutely, yes. Listening, asking questions and actively listening to people, and then showing that you've heard them, and often by like mirroring back what they've said, just so that you know, like, I'm actually listening and not just thinking about the next meeting I have to get to,
Yeah.
is another really important step for any consultant or leader who's trying to build a stronger team and grow their business, because you can't just expect to drag your team along with you with your vision if you're not getting down there and getting to know them and understanding who they are as people, and actually caring about them beyond the work they do for your business. Because if that's all you care about, then they're quickly not going to be at your company, and you're going to be spending way more on continuously onboarding people every 6 months rather than achieving your goals.
Yes, you can definitely rule by fear and rule by giving strict rules, but how long is that going to last? How many people are going to stick with you? How many people are just there to take advantage of the here and now, waiting for a better opportunities in which they're actually seen and feel valued comes along?
Yeah, and so this is really valuable stuff, really great insights onto how to be more persuasive with your teams as a leader or consultant. So if someone who's a leader or consultant is thinking, okay, this sounds like something I need to start working on, what is like a tip or a trick they can take and apply today to make a first step towards being more persuasive by focusing on the connection aspect of things rather than the logic or the authority?
The simplest way is in 3 words: tell me more. And this is a question that I ask a lot as a coach. So when somebody is defining their own goals and aspirations, it helps to double click on them by asking, tell me more. If I'm a consultant working with a client and the client is demanding or is asking for a project or demanding a specific feature, rather than jumping in and say, yes, let's do it, it's important to really dig deeper and understand what is causing the rush, the urgency, the need. Tell me more. And even in personal relationships, when a friend or a loved one uh, is particularly stressed about the situation, let's not assume that we know exactly what is provoking that stress. Tell me more. Again, you ask for a simple
Yeah,
call to action. Just ask, tell me more.
yeah. I think every leader needs to make the 3 words that they use the most in their vocabulary tell me more. Because no matter if you're asking a variety of questions to different people on your team, the next question after you've shown you've listened to them is tell me more about what you just said. Because that is, yeah, I love that suggestion. It makes people see how much you actually care about what they're saying. And as a leader, you will gain much more insights into the reality of what's going on in your marketplace, inside of your internal teams, what your customers are feeling, because you might think you have a good sense of what's going on, but I guarantee that your team members are actually interacting with people and interacting with customers and talking to each other, know a lot more about the reality of how your business is performing than you do from just looking at the KPIs. And so talking with them and asking them to tell you more about what they're responding to you with when you ask these questions that's so valuable of a tip for people who are wanting to be more persuasive, because the more you show you care about your team, who they are and what they think as people, the more they're going to agree with and follow along, because you're creating this space for belonging and for them to be able to show up as themselves. And that is something that people are craving more than ever these days. And I think for businesses that want to differentiate themselves in the marketplace and in like the job market and stuff, that just saying, tell me more often to your teams is going to be a huge game changer.
And are you ready for 3 more words?
Hit me.
Another great question that is actually, I read first in the Coaching Habit, a book that I always recommend to people that want to become better coaches, is another 3 words, and what else? So
Ooh.
This is very powerful, because sometimes we ask people, what is on your mind? And we just take that at face value, and it's very helpful to just to follow up. And what else? And what else? And what else? The first thing that people tell us is rarely what is truly important to them. Think about it yourself. When you ask somebody, how are you doing today? And they say, fine.
Yeah.
There's a world behind the fine.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's exactly what I thought of. Is people have these, hey, how's it going? How are you doing? And they give this generic, well, I'm fine, everything's great. And that's not true. We're all worried about things and different stressors and stuff that's percolating in the back of our heads. And if you and what else? I haven't heard that one before, but I love it. I'm going to start using it myself, because that is a great follow-up question that gets past some of the armor that we all wear in our daily interactions, both inside and outside of the job or in the office. And I think showing someone that you're interested in going deeper than the surface level interactions is going to build rapport vastly more effectively than just staying on that surface level.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny how we go through life mostly asking shallow questions. And in order to really develop trusted relationships, you need to break through the next level of questions. And it's not always a free-for-all. We are in professional environments most of our day, so it could be jarring to go to a semi-stranger and say, tell me about your family. But asking for permission to have those conversations by volunteering some insights about your life first, and then asking if it's okay to ask a more personal questions, that creates a safe environment to actually develop that deeper connection.
Yeah, I love that point about asking for permission first, and also just taking the first step and opening up and sharing something is a great way to get people to feel comfortable sharing with themselves, because you took that first step. You're not asking them to share without already demonstrating that it's a safe space. And so I think that's a great suggestion as well. So it's share about yourself, ask deep questions, and then follow up with tell me more and what else. And if you start practicing that, make that a habit with your teams and your clients and your colleagues and see how much that improves the community and the culture of your company, and how much you'll see that that's going to pay off dividends in no time, because people will just be showing up in a different way to work than they ever did before.
Yeah. Thanks for summarizing it.
Yeah. So thank you so much for connecting with me today, Eduardo. If you enjoyed this episode of the Human Connection podcast, please leave a review, and share it. If you'd like to connect with myself or Eduardo, check out the links in the show notes. And remember, no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Happy connecting.
Thank you.